Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Where are we coming from? That's right. We're coming from the Death Star right down here in Olympia, Washington. What am I doing down here? Well, I was actually down here watching one of my good friends, one soon to be one of your good friends. That's Detective Edgar Salazar, the Moses Lake Police Department, as he was given one of the most prestigious awards imaginable by a law enforcement officer in Washington State. Video to come on that later. But while I was down here, I figured, hey, I'd just swing on by here and then do a little soul searching. And the soul searching we're going to do today, Washington, is, well, how well has all of the civilian disarmament measures that have come out of that building right there over the last 10 to 12 years, well, how well have they worked out for us? Because a new study's out and, well, the numbers aren't really good. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about the complete and total failure of Washington's gun control laws. Okay, so a new report is out from the Cimarron Law Group. I obviously went into the wrong type of law. The Cimarron Law Group apparently does studies. They break down data. They took a look at DOJ, FBI, law enforcement data to figure out what's happening with crime on a nationwide level and then what's happening with crime on a state-by-state basis. And hey, Washington, guess what? Washington State ranked as the 8th most dangerous state in the United States. Let me say that again. Washington State ranked as the 8th most dangerous state in the entire country. Now, for those of you like myself who've lived here your entire life, did you ever in a million years think that Washington State would ever be even in the top 20 on a list of most dangerous states? Now, Washington clamors for its A- grade from Giffords, but you know, that's kind of like those report cards you get in grade school where you get a grade both for achievement and for effort. And so really the Giffords grade is one of effort. However, if you're going to give Washington State a letter grade for achievement, well then perhaps you need to consider some of the numbers and some of the data that the Cimarron Law Group found out about your state. Okay, now just to set this whole thing up, let's go back in our time machine for a couple of minutes here, because you remember way back in 2004, yeah, it was Initiative 594. We were going to close the gun show loophole. 5 years later, it was Initiative 1639. We're going to start cracking down on those nasty assault weapons. Then, starting about 3 years ago, they actually did it through legislation, shoving a magazine ban down your throat, shoving a assault weapon ban down your throat, shoving down pre-purchasing education requirements, shoving down all sorts of regulations on the FFL industry, all to drive them out of business. So, in the last 12 years, the state of Washington, the folks over there, have promised you that these laws were going to make your community safer and were going to save lives. And let us remember that every time a piece of legislation came from right there, what did they always say in the preamble? Oh, well, the citizens of Washington overwhelmingly support these types of measures, as evidenced by their support of Initiative 594 and Initiative 1639. Now, circling back to the Cimarron Group, what did they find? Well, I found this paragraph interesting. Since Washington began adopting these increasingly stricter gun laws, the number of homicides statewide since 2014 has doubled. It went from 172 in 2014 to 394 in 2022. And specifically in Seattle, homicides have tripled. In 2014, there were 23. In 2023, there were 73. Now, you don't really have to be a math major or a statistician to understand that those numbers are going horribly in the wrong direction. But as the Centralia Chronicle also pointed out recently, why crime statistics on a nationwide level seem to be moving in the right direction, not so much for Washington State. According to the FBI crime report, between 2020 and 2022, the rate of violent crime in the U.S. decreased from 398.5 incidents per 100,000 people to 387 incidents per 100,000 people, while the rate of violent crime in Washington has increased from 293.7 incidents to 375.6 incidents, an 81.9% rate increase. Oh, and that's just violent crime, because if you want to talk about property crimes, you know, theft, burglary, things like that, congratulations, Washington, you're ranking #1 for property crimes. Sex crimes, oh, you want to talk about that too? Other types of violent crimes, oh yes, every one of them has increased exponentially in the last 12 years. Now, we tell you here at Washington Gun Law all the time that we're not going to tell you how to think, but we are going to give you all the stuff to think about. And when you look at all those numbers, doesn't that give us all something to think about? And doesn't it logically draw us to the conclusion that Washington State's civilian disarmament legislation and all the efforts to disarm you, the lawful and responsible gun-owning Washington resident, has been an absolute and complete unadulterated failure? If, of course, the true goal was to make our community safer and save lives. But if the goal was just to disarm you, well, they've done one hell of a job, haven't they? Now, I want all of you to remember that the chief law enforcement officer during this entire period of time, when all of these numbers jump through the ceiling, now wants to be your governor. And oh, by the way, the legislator who wrote most of the legislation to depolice your communities and help throw gas on this fire, well, now she wants to be your attorney general. Oh, and by the way, the legislator who probably was second most in leading with all of this gun control legislation, well, now she thinks she needs to be your insurance commissioner. That is why the vote for the soul of Washington is up in this November. Listen, we're going to go ahead and link up all the data that we relied upon in making this video down below so that you can geek out on it. Hey, maybe you guys got some ideas about videos that we should be doing at Washington Gun Law. If you do, click on that link right there. Let us know, because some of the best ideas we ever had weren't really our ideas. If you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington Gun Law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information is down there in the description box. And then finally, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any incidents that you may find yourself. Until next time, from the state capitol here in Washington State, thanks for watching and stay safe.